we still believe them. We still believe them. I remember not so long ago, they came and told us that our culture meant nothing. And we believed them. And unfortunately, we still believe them. The French came. The Germans came. The Italians came. The Belgians came. The English came. They came and planted the seed amongst brother and brother, sister and sister, and things fell apart, and they have remained apart. So they came and found Lake Muitanzige and say, no, it is Lake Albert. They came and found our lake with our name. They say, this is Edward. They said another one is George. The falls which we had lived with, they said, this is Murchison. And even our national park, they called it Elizabeth. And when they went down, they found Lake Narubare and said, this is Victoria. And when they went down, they said that the falls, Mosio Tunya, was Victoria Falls. We are gathered here to remind ourselves of the place of culture in the lives of our society. They came and told us that our culture meant nothing. And we believed them. And unfortunately, we still believe them. The Bunyoro, Kitara, and the many kingdoms that we have in Uganda, and indeed in the continent of Africa, have been victimized by other civilizations. The Portuguese came. They were in West Africa. They were in the Congo. And we welcomed them as we normally do, and we still do. And no sooner had we welcomed them than they made the claim that they had discovered us. They discovered us, they claim. They discovered our mountains which we had lived next to for ages. But we know that prior to the rude disruption of our governance system, African kingdoms were organized. The Bunyoro Kitara kingdom was organized, and even the European historians and anthropologists who have tried to say no recognize that they were. The Buganda kingdom was organized. The Toro were organized. The Banyankole were organized. The Shilluk in what is present-day South Sudan were organized. The Yoruba were organized in what is present-day Nigeria. The Akan were organized. The Zulu were organized. We were organized. The history of Africa is therefore a history of welcoming other civilizations in the hope that they would reciprocate. But history teaches us that they did not. And it is not only the Europeans who started that journey of disruption and exploitation. The Arabs did it, and we don't talk about it as loudly as we should. They came, and they took us into slavery. And they castrated our men, so that when you don't see dark-skinned people in the numbers that we should in the Arab world, is because they castrated men. And we must never forget that. The French came. The Germans came. The Italians came. The Belgians came. The English came. All in their arrogance. And they made their way. And in what we now call Uganda, they came to the Bunyoro Kitara kingdom, and they were resisted by Kabarega. And a man called Baker came, and he was beaten by Kabarega. History teaches us. But then they went away, and they assembled in Berlin in 1884 and 1885, and they divided us into what we now have as Uganda, as Tanzania, as Kenya. We are now 54 and still counting. They came and told us that our culture meant nothing, and we believed them, and unfortunately we still believe them. But what we must never forget is that at all time we resisted. Those who say we never resisted are mistaken. We did. They planted the seeds of division. I can still remember those famous words of Nigeria's Chinua Achebe in his book, Things Fall Apart, when he says that they came and planted the seed amongst brother and brother, sister and sister, and things fell apart, and they have remained apart. They came and they disrupted us. They told us that our God was not God. They came with a God, and today, when you go into many households of those who claim to be Christians or those who are Christians, you find the image of an actor called Geoffrey Hunter being received as the image of Jesus Christ. They came and told us that our names were not good names, and they gave us names. They came and told us that our natural features had to acquire different names. They came and told us that our culture meant nothing, and we believed them, and unfortunately we still believe them. We still believe them. We still believe them.